The occupiers have already felt very well what modern artillery is, and they will not have a safe rear anywhere on our land which they occupied.
It's a message for Russians that Ukraine can cause severe damage to Russia, deep inside Russia.
It is one of the most daring and devastating Ukrainian attacks on Russian troops since the start of the war.
So what we're seeing here is an extraordinary assault that not only is it a demonstration of Ukraine's ability to innovate.
What happens when a drone strikes not just a target, but the very stockpile that sustains an entire defensive line? In Donetsk, Ukrainian FPV drones locked onto hidden caches of TM-62 anti-tank mines, concealed under camo nets and shelter belts. The result wasn't a single explosion. It was a chain reaction that tore through the tree line, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Stay with us because this isn't just about one hit.
Ukrainian forces hitting back harder against the Russian-backed troops in the south. Is this the counteroffensive that Kiev's been telling civilians that it's preparing for?
It's about cutting off the enemy's ability to seed new minefields entirely. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. How do you strike something designed never to be seen? Along the Donetsk front, Russian forces built entire supply points of TM-62 anti-tank mines under makeshift canopies and layers of camouflage netting pulled tight across tree lines. From the air, they appeared as nothing more than patches of tangled branches, the kind of cover that disappears into the landscape. On the ground, stacks of ammunition crates sat nestled in cleared pockets of the woods, shielded from satellites and difficult to pick out from fast jets or artillery spotters. Each one of these depots served a simple but dangerous purpose: keep minefields alive. When Ukrainian troops cleared one section, Russian engineers could ride forward, collect more TM-62s, and reseed entire approaches in a matter of hours. Knocking out the stores meant slowing their ability to choke movement. But first, those drones had to find a way inside. The FPV operator brought the first machine almost vertically down. Instead of sweeping low over the forest, the drone closed its wings in the steep descent and plunged through a break in the canopy.
Strike Russia where it's not expecting it. It's also a clear indication that Russia is not invincible.
The video frame caught shadows of crates stacked beneath wire mesh, a glimpse of painted steel glinting in the low light. The target wasn't a vehicle, wasn't a patrol, but the heart of the depot itself. A fraction of a second later, the screen flared white. The mines cooked off in a rolling surge, one detonation pressuring the next until the entire holding bay erupted.
The occupiers have already felt very well what modern artillery is, and they will not have a safe rear anywhere on our land which they occupied.
Echoes cracked down the tree line, and a ripple of shock punched through drifting leaves. Smoke curled upward, piercing the stillness, while fragments ripped away swaths of cover that moments earlier had hidden the entire site. That would have been enough to scatter any crew tasked with hauling out the weapons, but a second strike came in with a different approach. This drone didn't climb high and drop. It skimmed low, weaving between trunks at human height, dodging branches like a racer weaving gates. The operator lined its final run straight into the supply racks positioned deeper in the stand of trees. Unlike the massive immediate fireball of the first hit, there was one crack of ignition, then a rolling series of pops as stacked mines responded in sequence.
A way that the Russian security services and military have been stunned by and were absolutely not ready for.
Frames showed debris blasted sideways, shards of rail ties and crate planks spinning across the clearing. Flames mixed with dirt as compact shelters built out of logs and soil collapsed inward.
It is very obvious. What is different about this attack in a way that, well, Ukraine has launched massive attacks on Russia,
scattering metallic fragments outward like a spray across the undergrowth. The storage crews had built reinforcement walls of earth and timber around certain sections, meant to contain secondary blast and keep the rest of the stockpile intact in case of an accident or strike. On paper, those barriers should have limited the damage to a single pocket. But 2 ignition points in rapid succession proved deadly. The defensive structures didn't isolate the heat or arrest the chain fire. Instead, they funneled pressure into neighboring pits, guaranteeing the whole setup burned together.
It's a message for Russians that Ukraine can cause severe damage to Russia, deep inside Russia.
As dusk fell, a third drone came in under very different conditions. Ordinary cameras struggled as the canopy swallowed the last light, but thermal optics brought up glowing signatures under the leaves.
That has now become a thing of the past, and this war is now in a very different and a very difficult sort of a terrain.
Ukraine says that its forces destroyed a Russian ammunition depot and killed more than 50 soldiers.
The footage revealed hot cores where munitions were stacked, faint outlines of fuel drums tucked behind tree trunks. When the FPV dive hit its target, bursts of white heat scattered across the screen.
It is one of the most daring and devastating Ukrainian attacks on Russian troops since the start of the war.
One ring of detonations formed along the perimeter before racing inward. Little by little, points of flame spread through the storage area until the entire line of concealment shone like coals in a furnace.
And can cause significant damage to Russia well beyond the battlefield.
3 attacks in less than a day turned what had been a replenishment point into blackened wreckage. This wasn't just the destruction of munitions. It cut the thread that tied Russian engineers to steady supplies of fresh mines. Without these caches, reseeding frontline approaches became slower, riskier, and in some sectors, impossible.
What we're seeing here is an extraordinary assault that not only is it a demonstration of Ukraine's ability to innovate.
And once hidden depots could no longer perform their role, the question shifted. What happens to battlefield logistics when spaces meant to stay invisible are no longer safe from the air?
Different account claiming at least 7 people were killed. Ukraine is hailing it as a victory as it tries to drive back Russian forces.
Destroying a mine depot does more than create an explosion on impact. It cuts off the entire supply chain that keeps new minefields in place, paralyzing an enemy's ability to slow advances across wide sectors of the front. In Donetsk, one FPV strike didn't just remove a stockpile, it triggered a logistical collapse that shifted control of the ground itself.
Its victory in Ukraine is inevitable. This extraordinary operation shows that Ukraine is still in this fight.
Russian logistics hubs, Russian weapons depots to basically deprive Russia of that huge advantage it's been having. And
the strike stripped defenses of their resilience and exposed how fragile concealed depots really are. If drones can erase stockpiles hidden under nets and tree lines in only minutes, then what defenses will remain secure in the wars ahead?